because again, some people are not ready to make big changes because I do a lot of habit building and habit creation. And a lot of people are just like, tell me what to eat and tell me how to work out. And that's fine, but that's not really what I do. And I think that's amazing. There are people out there that do that. So I feel like, and if you're not ready, that's also awesome. But I want people to know that they're getting so much more and there's deeper work that we do than just change how you eat.
Caring for others is part of your life, but it's not all of it. This is your space for growth, confidence, and connection to the whole you. Welcome to the DaliTalks podcast.
Welcome back. Today, I have a very, very wonderful person. I met her at Candace Van Dorthelen's retreat. And it was just an amazing experience meeting her. Her name is Mandi Murrow, a holistic and integrative coach. Mandi, welcome to the DaliTalks podcast.
Hi, I'm so excited to see you and be here
Me
with you.
too. Thank you. Me too. And I can't wait to see you again. I'm going to have to make that happen later this year. But yeah, thank you for making time to come and share about you today. When we met, I said, Mandi, well, we had already spoken about the podcast by then, but I was like, you've got to be on my podcast because what you do is so excellent. And then experiencing like your food, oh my gosh. Backstory.
I receive.
Yes. Backstory. She was hired to feed us at this retreat, and then she participated too, which was awesome. Oh, the food was so good. So good
Oh,
and
thank
healthy.
you.
So, Mandi, tell us a little bit about your background.
Oh my gosh. So I'll try to make a very long story really, really short. I was a hairdresser, hairstylist, salon owner, everything in that business from hair and makeup for weddings, e-commerce, all these things for years. And then I owned a salon that I tried to turn into a wellness space, which I think I kind of did. But at that space, I became very burnt out on doing hair. It was harder on my body. I started being a yoga teacher. I got my teacher training, 200 hour. I was a fitness instructor. And then I just said, I feel like there's something missing. And so I decided to sell the salon. We moved out to the country, started a farm business, and I became a health coach. And
Wow.
so this was over 12 years ago. And I've been doing that in some capacity ever since, whether it's food for workshops and retreats or health coaching or teaching yoga retreats, workshops myself.
Mhm.
Um, but after I had a baby at 46, I entrenched all of my coaching towards hormone balancing for women. And in that, I also took an amazing course, and I'll mention her name, Dr. Liz Burkholder. She's amazing. I did her hypno breathwork course, and that was also life-changing. So now I'm a facilitator of that modality. So that is the short version of what I do.
Yeah. I love it. I did not know you had moved out to the country and you have a farm. That is so cool.
Yeah, I did. And then we sold the farm and moved to the lake.
Oh, yeah. Oh, also beautiful spot. But yeah, that's incredible. I love that you have all these different experiences of things that you have done and how they all interlace together. Um, and it makes sense why when we were speaking, you were so knowledgeable about so much stuff regarding health and nutrition. Like even the oils, I was like, what? Like people actually there's a science, like a real deep science to this. And you just like, oh yeah, that oil and blah, blah, blah. You're like, wow, she really knows her stuff. That's really cool.
Well, I will say, I think I'm more of a Jane of all trades because I love to know a little about a lot. And
Mhm.
I do deep dive on some things, but then I'm like, well, I got that certification. That's under my belt. Let's go on to the next thing. And I feel like I've gotten a little less all over the place and I've kind of honed my skills in a little bit more directly on what I'm hoping to help people do. But yeah, I also have a herbalism certification. And so, yeah.
That's incredible. And see, that's really good for people to know, especially if they want to work with you, because they want to know what kind of experience, what kind of knowledge have you acquired? Because there are a lot of people out there that give themselves the title, and have no experience, no knowledge, or they just like happen to read a book and they feel like they really know something and oh, I'm done. I'm this, like give me your money.
Well, unfortunately, kind of like life coaching, I know that there's now kind of a board for that, but same with health coaching, there's a board, but you don't necessarily have to do, the kind of hours I did. And I went to IIN and it's a big program and you learn a lot. But then after that, I did my own studies
Mhm.
post that by multiple different coaches and multiple different medical professionals, whether integrative, holistic, and Western medicine. So I love research. I love reading the research. I love kind of finding out why our bodies and our brains and everything works. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I recently saw on one of your posts on social media that you said you used your own nutrition knowledge to lose weight. And that I think is the biggest challenge that most of us have. It's not the workouts. The workouts are, I mean, for some people it is, but I think it's easier to stick to workouts than to learn the nutrition. To me, it's a science. Like, fun fact, Dali doesn't like to cook because it's like chemistry, and Dali does not like chemistry.
well, I feel like when people come to me, they want the traditional idea of what a health coach does.
Mhm,
And that's usually what to eat and, what workouts to do.
mhm,
And they want that kind of guidance, which I do. But in IAN, we talked about the primary foods, and the primary foods are like everything else, your career, your family, your spirituality, your movement, and all these things. And those are really, truly the primary things that we need to work on. And even though I went to school a long time ago, that specific ideal has really resonated with me because really what makes us healthy is your gut health, your nervous system, and your sleep. And if we can get those three things in alignment, all this other stuff happens because it's not about motivation to go to the gym or motivation to cook. It's like, how do you feel? Are you too tired to do any of these things? And if you're too tired to do these things, then there's something else underlying. So I'm really into finding those underlying things that are happening within our bodies that are making these things
right.
change. And most of my clients come to me and they're like, "Oh, I didn't lose weight." We're like, "We're going to take that word right out of your vocabulary because that's secondary to all these other things. And when you start to feel better, you do better."
Right. Okay, so you just said your gut health, your nervous system, and sleep. Oh, that's really interesting. I never heard that before. I didn't know those three were so essential, and that's really good to know. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about what does gut health mean because I hear this word so much. So can you simplify it for me?
So, truly, what our gut is, honestly, it's truly from like your mouth to your anus. And people don't realize like all of that is important. It's all about the microbiome, which is the bacteria that live in there that are good or bad or indifferent, right? We have these specific bacteria that are throughout our bodies. But in that system, you need your stomach acid to be right. So it's digesting your food like it's supposed to, because undigested food goes and sits in in your intestines, and then it creates I hate to say the word rot, but that's the best word to describe it. And then it's sitting on the villi inside of your intestines, and then it's breaking that down, and then you get leaky gut, and then that leaky gut can affect everything about you.
Okay.
Toxins would go ahead.
Sorry, you said leaky gut. When I hear leaky gut, is that diarrhea?
No, leaky gut is the kind of the peripheries, like the little tiny holes almost in your gut that can release toxins out into your body. And those toxins a lot of times can it can actually cross the blood-brain barrier and cause depression and anxiety and all these other things.
Oh,
So keeping your gut healthy is really, really important because you want prebiotics, probiotics, all these things so you have the right combination of bacteria in your gut and your microbiome to create a healthy space.
okay. Wow. I
That makes
had no idea. All these, this whole time, I don't know why I never asked or looked it up. which
Well,
is weird. It's more.
it's a big idea, right? It's like
Mhm.
healthy gut, like what does that mean? And the science is so new. They are still finding out all these new things. And this just came up in the past like 20 years of this understanding and even less that they've actually researched it. So, I mean, it's been going on for a long time. There's this theory, but over the past few years, they're like, oh, there's a cross, a connection between your blood, your brain, and your gut. And so that it's just like, oh, that term, trust your gut. It's not just
Mhm.
about your feelings. It's about, oh, you know, how do you feel about that? Yes, but it's also like, is your gut stable enough to make your brain make the right decisions? I
Right.
guess the
Yeah.
best way to explain that in simple terms.
Right. I mean, I guess that's where the term hangry comes from.
It's very true. Yeah.
There's a connection there. I've
Yes,
experienced it
absolutely.
myself.
Yes.
So, so do you work mostly with people who are trying to achieve a certain goal, like whether it's hormone balancing or weight loss, or just people who just want to learn how to eat healthier?
All of those things.
Mhm.
I feel like, a lot of people come to me because they were sent to me from either a mental health professional or a medical doctor. And when they come to me from a mental health professional, a lot of times what's happening is they've either had a body image issue or, an eating disorder of some sort, or um, maybe they've had a lot of depression and anxiety and they just need to, recalibrate. I do very short programs throughout the year that are not detoxes. I don't call them that because people think detox are just going to drink a bunch of juice or not eat. That is not it. It's just a full body and mind reset. And I do those. They're usually 2 weeks at a time. They could be 3 weeks at a time, 14 days or 21 days. And then I have a couple programs that I have. So it's a 3 month program for intuitive eating. A lot of that is for people who have body issues. Then I have a hormone um, balancing course that's 3 months. And then, oddly enough, I do have a weight loss intensive, but this weight loss intensive is two parts. Like, one, if somebody really needs to lose weight, but they don't want to do the GLPs, but they need to get the weight off for one reason or another. Usually it's for like a surgery where their doctor's
Mhm.
like, you have got to lose this weight to be able to even get your knee surgery done. And it's we're making sure that they are following certain steps. And then the other one is an accompaniment that I made for the people who are on GLPs and need to learn healthy habits so that they're not stuck being on a GLP forever. That they can get into a microdose situation and slowly learn good habits and are actually eating the things that they need to eat to be healthy. Because I listened to a podcast the other day and it was a doctor talking about GLPs, and she talks about the GPS of GLPs. And it's like, first is the GLP, which is the G, the next is the protein, and the next is strength training because people are not, they're getting on the GLPs and they're not doing all the things they need to do.
Right.
So I created that program too to accompany all the people to help guide them and give them accountability for their weight loss journey.
Yeah, that's really important. I'm glad that you mentioned that because I forget about the people who are on GLP, and there's still so much stigma around that. And some people just, if they need it, they need it, right? And the good thing I always think is at least they're trying something different since everything
Yeah.
else hasn't worked. Just like the surgeries too. So I love that you work with an array of different people. And so, what would you say when you work with these people? What is maybe the number one thing that they need to understand before committing to working with you?
Um, I think my biggest line or my biggest quote is that shame is worse than sugar, because we talk all the time about how
Ooh.
sugar is kind of bad for you. And I like to take the stigma away from anything that we're eating or doing right now or what you may do in the future.
Mhm.
Because I do not believe that there is a place in getting well and on your path to wellness. There's no place for shame. I want you to give yourself grace. I want you to do your best. I want you to do the things you're supposed to do and take responsibility, but I am empowering you to do these things for yourself. And
Right.
I'm here to hold your hand, but I don't like the word, this is bad for me. And
Mhm.
I fell off the wagon. Take responsibility, do everything with intention, and give yourself grace as you're learning because a lot of the stuff, like you said earlier, like you didn't even know this. And everybody's expected to know all these things where I've done all the reading and all the things, and I don't even know everything. There's so much to know. But if you come to me and you have like a concern, I'm like, I might not know that, but let me find out from the resources that I have that I know are knowledgeable and um, reliable, and I'll bring you what I've
Yeah.
gathered. But again, I feel like there's no place in your wellness journey for shame.
Yeah, I love that you said that. That is such a quotable term, phrase. I'm definitely gonna put it out there, and of course, give you credit because it's true. I think that a lot of people carry so much shame. I know I certainly have,
Yeah.
because of whatever people have told me. And then my issue with weight started in the military because the military has such unrealistic expectations about your body image, not so much about your body abilities. I mean, that too, but sometimes like I was so capable and I did excellent with my physical training and past and everything, but they hang on to that was it BL something, BMI,
Yeah,
BMI?
your BMI.
Yeah, and or like the way that you look in the uniform and stuff like that. And I never had issues about my weight until they pointed out like, wait a minute, you're too heavy. I was like, but I just over exceeded my physical standards, and that's when it all began. I'm like, oh, I have to watch. Before that, I was just like very active and eating whatever. And I mean, and it probably was good to become aware of, being more careful of what I consume, especially now that we have so many products that sound healthy or might look healthy, but are not. And that drives me up a wall. So when you mentioned you have a 3 month
Four
course?
and a half. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Say that again.
A course? How long is your
Oh,
course?
3-month course.
3 month course.
There's
Yeah.
2 3-month courses, and then the weight loss intensive is 10 to 12 weeks, depending on how long we work together. But that can be either the weight loss or the GLP.
Right.
I wanted to say something about 2 things that you said. One, a lot of places put a lot of importance on the BMI, but the BMI is kind of outdated in the fact that, it's just your body mass index, and that could be water weight, muscle, fat, and everything all together. Whereas now it's a lot better to get, a full screen of your body composition because some people are larger boned than other people, and some people have a lot more muscle to that bone density than a lot of other people. So there's a lot more to that. And
Yeah.
I saw somebody post a while back, and she was a silks person, and she'll know who I'm talking about when I say this, but she said that when she went to go to the doctor, she got her BMI, and she said it was over, and the doctor said something about it. And she's like, but I do silks. I work out all the time, and she's a healthy eater, and she's literally so strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's kind of the problem. It's like, but let's look at the bigger picture. How old are you? What is your bone structure? What can it hold? Um, what are you doing for fitness? What are you eating? And there's so much more to that. And then you also mentioned the military. There's a lot going on in the military. Your body's under a lot of stress. Your cortisol goes up. A lot of people gain a lot of weight in their midsection,
Mm-hmm.
even though sometimes the food is good. Your food options there can be limited depending on where you're located. If you're being, transferred somewhere. My sister was in the military, so I know it's just there's a lot that goes into that whole body picture as to why people gain weight.
Yeah.
And but also, is that healthy or not healthy for them specifically?
Right. Yeah. And I had to also get used to the foods that they provided at the cafeterias because, I'm Nicaraguan. So like my food at home was so different than
Yeah.
what was in the military. And one of the things that happens a lot too in the military, because you're training constantly, sometimes you're not near an actual kitchen for like days or weeks. So they turn to the meals ready to eat, MREs, and they are loaded with carbs so that you can
Yeah.
survive out there.
Yeah.
And you don't think about that at the moment, about how that's going to impact your body, especially then when you get back. But these are things that I've had to learn by accident. And now that I'm older, I'm being more intentional about educating myself because I've realized that I think the majority of people in the United States, we get these bad habits because we're not taught, and then our kids are raised with those bad habits. So I feel bad in a way that I didn't come to this aha moment of, wait a minute, I need to educate myself so that my kids don't continue this same habit. and so that they don't struggle with weight. And so I'm glad that there are people like you helping, to breaking this down in simplest forms. But let's talk a little bit more about the accessibility to programs like yours, because when people think weight loss or a nutritionist or a health coach, they think, oh, that's probably very expensive. So how do you work with people? Is it like payment plans? Do you have a low cost and then the higher tier offers?
Yes. So that's why I offer the quarterly mini resets,
Mhm.
because that gives people, there's a lot of information in those 2 weeks. You get a module every single day with a lot of information in there. So it's kind of like you're packing everything that you know, or I know, into 2 weeks. But it gives people a way to, okay, at least I have the education and I could take it and do it outside of that. And they're groups, but they still have access to me. So they're semi self led. They still get to message me directly. They can book a free consultation with that. Anybody, anytime can book a free consultation with me. It's a full hour. I give it to anyone who wants it, no matter whether you do a program with me or not.
Oh,
Then
wow.
my 3 month programs are, they're higher priced, but you get a lot. But I also do payment plans. And I tell people all the time, if your doctor recommended this, a lot of times your flex card will pay for it if you
Mm.
have that option through your insurance. So there's a lot of ways to get health and wellness advice and programs with me. But I think the best way for people to even see if you want to work with me, or if you like me, or what I do resonates with you, is to book a free call and or sign up for one of the quarterly resets, because it gives you a chance to really work with me and see if this is something that you want to do. Because again, some people are not ready to make big changes, because I do a lot of habit building and habit creation. And a lot of people are just like, tell me what to eat and tell me how to work out, and that's fine, but that's not really what I do, and I think that's amazing. There are people out there that do that. So I feel like, and if you're not ready, that's also awesome. But I want people to know that they're getting so much more, and there's deeper work that we do than just change how you eat.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. I hope that people listening and have been wanting to take an opportunity like this feel more peace of mind that they can call you. That's incredible, by the way, that just a free session just for an hour, whether they purchase anything from you or not. That's really cool. And it just speaks to how much you love doing what you do. I know that
Love it.
in your heart, you just want to help people. Um, do you work with teenagers?
I do.
Mm.
I
Okay.
do. I do a few programs with teenagers. It's usually the intuitive eating program.
Mhm.
And then that gives them the opportunity to learn a lot about their bodies, and especially girls, because I send out a little module on the menstrual phases, because a lot of women are not taught that early on.
Mhm.
So that's one of the big parts, is I love to educate girls early on so they know more about their bodies, because I wasn't told, because my mom wasn't told. So it's this generational information gap.
Yeah.
So I love to educate women of all ages on how to empower themselves with information.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct about not learning about our bodies. I did not know that there were different phases of the menstrual period and all. Like, what is a luteal phase? What is that? And I was like, I think I was like close to 40. And I was like, how am I this old and I don't know this? Like,
I know.
it's
And
crazy.
I don't tell people not to be on birth control, but I want to tell people that if you know these phases, then you're better aware of what's going on with your body. Because
Right.
when you take birth control, it kind of dims those phases a little
Mhm.
bit. And so the sooner we know our phases, if you do take some kind of birth control, you can still track it and know what's going on with your body no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I think if we knew more about that, we'd be able to tell when our hormonal changes are like really out of whack. Because I've had
Yeah.
to learn that myself. And it's so interesting how food has so much to do with the hormone changes. Like I
Yeah.
remember so many years ago, I mean, many, many years ago, Suzanne Summers
Yeah.
had come out like, and she was like diagnosed with cancer, and then she spoke about menopause, and she was like, oh yeah, I'm going to a holistic medicine doctor. And people were like, what? That's crazy, because this was like closer to the 2000s. And so it was not a popular thing. It was, everybody was saying she's crazy. How dare she like ignore Western medicine, and she instead is going to the plants and
Yeah.
and to
I
the,
mean,
the
crazy,
holistic
right?
expert. All right. It's like, isn't that where we came from? Like we were cave people. We
Yeah.
survived and we were probably healthier. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I really love that you have so many options. My question too is, how do you keep people who enroll in your programs accountable? Because there are so many people that will buy a program and they'll like show up for the first or second meeting or whatever, and then they're like, "Oh, I can't make it." And then I think that that really comes from feeling overwhelmed, and they don't want to admit that they are overwhelmed and need more help.
I require people to do a weekly 45-minute call with me, and they have to be on screen on a call.
I love that.
And they have to be able to commit to that. So I tell people, if you cannot commit to that, if you are too busy, and I put that in quotes because we make time for whatever is meaningful for us.
Agree.
So if you are not ready to commit that, hour to 40, 45 minutes to an hour every week to touching base with me, then I don't think that you're really ready to do a program and get well for yourself with me anyway, because there are other options. But I also have an app. It's called Practice Better. It's completely HIPAA compliant, and people can log their food, their water, their sleep, their moods, their menstrual phase, like everything is in this app. And I send protocols every week. So there's education every week. There is a little bit of homework. It's completely optional, but I love seeing when people are like, I actually did my journal entries or I actually did my meditation.
Mhm.
And it's all about, I look at that every day, every one of my clients. I'm like, okay, check. That was really great. Check. You did really great. What happened here? Did something go wrong? Or, whatever input I can give to keep strengthening their habits, I do that. But again, they have daily accountability with me and then weekly one-on-one phone calls.
I love that because I'm totally the person that needs to be held accountable. Like I know if my goal is I have to log in by a certain time today, I'm gonna make sure. And I actually prefer to work with people that are like that because I know myself. I know that I'm like, oh well, I can let it go. And then next thing you know, weeks go by and you've done nothing
I know.
because you're busy and you're right. We make time for what we want.
Yep.
So I love that. And so and it's good that you put that out there because that way people, if they feel like it's gonna be too much pressure, then move on. Go to whoever's not gonna, make you
Yeah.
do all those things. But I feel like when you're held accountable, you do the work and the work creates a result. So like just like when people work with me, if I give them the homework and then time goes by and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, but I didn't really get results from you. Well, because you didn't do the work.
Yeah.
So don't blame it on the coach, don't blame it on the expert. It's like, take accountability. The problem was maybe you because you didn't do the work. You cannot
Yeah.
expect new results without new changes. So thank you
I'm
for
sh- I'm sure you've had this aha moment too, and they tell this in coaching all the time, right? Like you can't do the work for them, but you're like, but I
yes,
want you to get results because it's not just for you, it's for me. I want you to see how great this can be for yourself. But
right.
there's so much that you just have to let go of and surrender to the fact that you cannot help everybody. There are only a few people who have signed up for my program who have not finished, which is really, really great for me and
That's awesome.
it feels good to me. But I think it's because the feedback I get is that, I put a little thumbs up on what they eat or, a thumbs down. It's not like a judgment. It's like that's, or a smiley face or a sad face if they didn't get their water that day. And it's not, I tell them from the beginning, I'm like, this is not a judgment. It's just a little reminder without me saying, why did you eat that? That's so terrible. I'm
Mhm.
not doing that. It's just like, oh, what happened here? And so many people say they love that more than, pretty much anything else about the program, even more than the modules. Like some of them are
Mhm.
like, well, I read the modules and sometimes I do that and sometimes I don't. But seeing, like knowing that somebody's checking on the foods that they eat and the water they drink and the sleep that they get every day, they say, I'm so much better
Yeah,
at making sure that I do these things and logging it because they're honest. So many people
right.
are like, I'm so honest, I'll put that I had 4 glasses of wine that one night when I went out, and I'm like, "Not gonna judge you, there is no judgment." It's all about you just being accountable to yourself, but having somebody to check on you.
Yeah. Here's another question. This is something I've always wondered because, like I said, like some of us have very specific foods that we eat because culturally that's how we grew up. So I've always wondered if I were to say to a nutritionist or to a health coach, okay, so this morning I had fried plantains, sour cream, like 2 over easy eggs, and some rice and beans. Can you tell me what you think about this food? I know it's heavy on carbs. I know that. The plantains are probably heavy on sugar, but what else can you teach me about my foods and how maybe I can do better? I can still have them, but maybe with other off, like maybe mix them up with something that's healthier.
A couple things I'll say this really quick because you said something earlier that really I feel like people need to know. I worked at a weight loss center for a little while, and one of the things the lady who owned it told me that really resonated with me is a lot of people who are first generation in this country gain a bunch of weight because when you are in your culture,
Hmm.
there are not things on your food and they are grown differently
Yeah.
than they are in this country.
Hmm.
So that's one of the biggest things I like to remind people. So I'm not an advocate for like eat everything organic, but there's a difference.
Right.
Your countries, other people's countries, grow their food and care for their food differently than the United States does. I will not get into a political debate about that. It's just information.
Right.
But with that said, I also tell people that it's about the time of day a lot of times when you eat things, and it's about the combinations of foods. So instead of maybe the rice, you would scale down the rice and, have one or the other. And I tell people, I'm like, one of my favorite breakfasts is a breakfast burrito. So, having those eggs and the beans and then, some other kind of seasoning in like a flour tortilla or even a cassava flour
Hmm.
tortilla because it's healthier. And then having that instead, and then moving the heavier carbs to the middle of the day. So it's all about timing, the amount, and you know, changing it around just a little bit because it's all about just those tiny changes. They make a huge difference.
Hmm. Yeah. See, like you explained it so well.
Well, and there's a thing called the blue zones too. And one
Mhm.
of the thing they talk about is like the reason why the blue zones are where people live the longest or the
Mhm.
highest density of people who have like longer life. And one of the things was community, but the other thing is people are eating the foods from the culture that they are originally from.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I never tell people to change. I'm like, oh no, you need to eat this. I'm instead going to say, okay, what you're eating is culturally appropriate for you. Let's just switch it up a little bit and make it a little cleaner and a little better for you habit wise.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because, as you were saying, like, first of all, I did not know that first generation immigrants that move here gain a lot of weight. And that makes sense because I always wonder, like my family back in Nicaragua, they eat the same things that I do and even more sometimes, but they're thinner. But then I thought, well, wait a minute, they're also walking all over
Yeah.
the place because things are in, closer proximity, or maybe they take public transportation, so they have to walk to the bus stop and life is just more active because of that community aspect. So you socialize more, you're at family parties, birthday parties that turn to like adult parties,
Yes.
like just dancing all night long. And just the act of dancing. Because I remember as a teenager, I would go to parties. I was the first one in, I was the last one out, and I would dance the whole time. And I was just sweaty and didn't care. And now that I think back on that, I was like, that's probably why I didn't gain weight. I was a very athletic kid. I was pretty lean. And I still ate all those things. So thank you for that reminder. Because the thought of having to give up like yuca, cassava, breaks
No.
my heart so much. Like you have no
Okay.
idea, Mandy. I'm like, no, I cannot have to have my
Well,
yuca.
oh God, I love Yuka. Oh my gosh. There's a place that I love so much, and I'm giving them a shout out. Viva Chicken. They
Mhm.
have the fried yuca, and
Mm.
Oh my God. And they're
Yeah.
like fried plantains and like two of my most
Yeah.
favorite things.
That's near you.
It's not right near me. It's
Okay.
right where I work and in
Okay.
Valentine, but there's several of them. And the owner's a really, really great guy. The food is amazing.
All right.
Um, but you said two things about that. Like one, communities in other countries are usually a little bit more active because they're a little bit more walking. There's a little bit more, activity going on. And that's comes to the second one. There's also the community. The thing that we lack a lot of times is community and the ability to be out and be active.
Right.
And that goes back to we end up being less healthy and I say in the United States, I am not downing this country at
Yeah.
all because there are definitely communities, there's definitely activities, but I do feel like a lot of people come from other countries where it's just a different lifestyle. And I feel like there's amazing parts, like there's all these gyms and there's all these community things here in the United States. And I live in TGK, so there's so much community here, but it's just a little more spread out and it just takes away from the fact that you're not walking as much or you're not doing this and you're not doing that. And we don't have that what do you call it, the nuclear family here in the United States as much, whereas in other countries they do. And that was the research from the blue zones, is that culture, community, eating foods from where you're from, and the activity is all part of a lifestyle that makes people live longer and healthier.
Yeah, I agree. There's something I listened to a long time ago, a podcast about the science of just taking your time, chewing your food slower, and that people in those blue zones chew it slower because they're enjoying the food.
Yeah.
And there's like a chemical reaction that breaks down the food a certain way that's healthier for the body. I was like fascinated because I was like, wow, there's so much that we take for granted about food and about that moment of sitting down and just enjoying your meal, regardless of what it is, and enjoying it with others. So there's a lot we all have to learn. But if you want to get started, reach out to Mandi. Mandi,
Yes.
so where can people reach out to you?
So I have a website, but we talked about this earlier. The website has a lot on it because I do so many things. They are always welcome to go to rootedholisticwellness.com. But I have a link tree and it's rootedholisticwellness.mandy. And it has some of the events that I have coming up I do have a Glow Forward Mind Body Reset coming up. And then I have a Hypno Breathwork series coming up at Palestra. So that some of those events are on my link tree. And yeah, you can always just message me and book a consultation if anything that I've said resonates with you.
Thank you, Mandi. And do you post anything on social media?
All the time.
I know, but I just had to ask for the purpose of getting you to say it. What's
Yes,
your handle?
Rooted Holistic Coach on Instagram and Rooted Holistic Wellness on Facebook.
Awesome. Yes. And I do recommend you check out Mandi's posts because it's really good information on there. And just you get to see your personality. And I love your personality. Well, Mandi, thank you so much for making time to be here on the podcast and educating us and just letting us into who you are. You're just a wonderful person. And I'm so grateful that I got to meet you in person. Hopefully Candace has another retreat that we can go and hang out.
Yes. And we need to have our own retreats soon. We got those opportunities.
Absolutely. Right.
Well,
thank you.
thank you
Thank you
so much for inviting me here. I'm so glad I got to meet you. I'm so glad we have such a community of strong, powerful, empowered, women doing big things. And it's so great to meet another one of those women.
Thank you. Until next time.
All right. Have a great day.
Hey, did you like that episode? I have an ask. Would you mind leaving me a review? It would really help me improve this podcast so that you can come back and keep listening. Also, don't forget to check me out at DaliTalks.com and follow me on social media at DaliTalks. Until next time.